In this example, let's look at how to create an other side fillet weld in Autodesk Inventor. In Inventor, the first thing I do is make sure that I have an active project. In my case, for this particular project, I'm going to save this on OneDrive. So create a project if you haven't already, and then make that project active. I am then going to create a new part file. Our units will be inches, so we can start from the default part. I'll expand the origin folder. I'm going to right click on the center point and make it visible, and then I'm going to right click on the XY plane and start a new sketch. I'll draw a rectangle above the origin about like that, and I'm going to draw a second rectangle about like this. I'll dimension the width of this rectangle as 2 inches and the height of this lower rectangle as 0.5 and the width of this upper rectangle as 0.5 as well. And then I'll dimension the height of this rectangle as 1.5. Now notice the color of the geometry. Right now, if I drag this around, it can the rectangle can be dragged anywhere on the screen. I'm going to do coincident between the midpoint of this line and the origin, and watch that geometry. It'll snap down there, and it also changes black, letting me know that it's fully defined. I'm going to do the same thing on this rectangle. I'm going to click on the midpoint of this line. I want that to be to the midpoint of this line. It turns black, letting me know that that geometry is fully defined. I'm going to rotate around a little bit so that I can see this in an isometric view, and then I'm going to finish sketch, and let's go ahead and save this. And so I will put this into my location. I'm going to call this Inventor same side or other side fillet weld. I'll save that. Alright, then I'm going to extrude this lower rectangle, and I want it to go in the other direction, and I'll say 3 inches. And when I did that extrusion, the sketch became hidden on me, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to expand that feature. Here's my first sketch. I'm going to right click on that sketch and turn on the visibility of that sketch. I'll then do an extrude of the second rectangle, and I want to flip that direction. I'll go 3 inches, and then I want this rectangle though to, or the cube or the box, to be a different solid part than this one. So I'm going to tell it to do a new solid. It's really important if we're doing a weldment that we do this as separate solid bodies. I can then right click on that sketch and turn off the visibility of the sketch. Notice up here at the top of the browser that I have 2 solid bodies. Let's click twice slowly on this one, or hit F2. I'm going to call this one base, and I'm going to call this one upright. Okay, so we have 2 solid bodies. Now normally we might model these as separate parts, but I want to do this in a way that works real similar to SolidWorks. So in SolidWorks you do a weldment in a part file. In Inventor we'll do it slightly different, but we start out the same way we would do it in SolidWorks. Now if I were doing this correctly, then a weldment is actually multiple parts. So I go to the Manage tab, and I would tell it to make components to push this out to an assembly and individual parts. I'm going to do it a little bit different though, that represent more the way we might do this in SolidWorks. Well, a similar way. I'm going to do a new English weldment. So I'll select the weldment in the IAM Inventor assembly. And then on the Assemble tab, I need to place the component. So I'm going to do place, and I'll go and find the component. I'll select that same side fillet weld. Alright, actually I need the other side fillet weld. And don't click on the screen, or it'll place it wherever you happen to click. What I want to do is right click and tell it place grounded at the origin, and then I'll hit escape, and we'll save that. Give that the name Inventor, other side, fillet weld. It'll put that IAM extension on the end of it for me automatically. And it's asking me if I want to also save the part file. I'll tell it yes and OK. Now I want to do my weld bead, so I'm going to go to the Weld tab and I want to create a weld, so I'll click on the fillet weld symbol. I'll do fillet weld, and the size of my fillet weld will do 0.25, and I want to select face 1, and then I'll select face 2. It previews putting the weld bead on for me, but actually I wanted to do it on the other side, so I'm going to control unselect this face, and I'll go around and I'll select that face. And so I'm going to do the fillet weld with a flat contour, or I could do convex or concave, and I'll say OK to that. And so we have our fillet weld over on that side. Now it's really important in Inventor that when we get done with the welding, notice there's 3 environments over here. There's a preparation environment, a welding environment, and then a machining environment. We need to get out of this welding environment, so click return. And this is the most common mistake that beginners will make, is they don't click return to get out of that welding environment. I'll save this again. Alright, now I want to do a drawing, and I've already started a drawing, so I'm going to open up the drawing. Okay, so I'd already started and saved the drawing. I'm going to change the title down here in a few minutes. We'll see how to do that. And I want to place a base view, and I want to do an isometric view from this corner. So I'm going to come up here on the glass cube, or on the view cube, and I'll click. And then if we want to make that larger, we can drag the corners of this view to make whatever scale we want, or we could type in a scale. And so I'm going to accept that, and I'm going to place another base view here. So I'm going to do another base view, and this one I want it from that front view, and I'll say OK to that. Alright, I want to put my welding symbol in here, and so sometimes we can't get to where the weld bead is easily. In this case we could put the symbol over on this side, but let's assume it's not easy to get to. So I'm going to go to the annotation tab, and I'm going to do a weld symbol, and I'm going to tell it I want that weld symbol to be at that intersection. I'll click there, and then I will click up here for the dog leg. I'll right mouse button, select continue, and so we get the tools for creating our weld bead. We want it, notice we have a bunch of different weld bead styles. We're going to do a fillet weld. Let's put in the, and actually we want this one on the other side, so let's click none for this side, and we'll click for fillet weld, so the actual weld bead is on the other side, and we'll put in 0.25, and then I want it to be flat contour, so I'll come over here and I'll select a flat contour. And so as we put in the information for our weld bead, we can see it displayed on the screen. We'll select OK to that. I'll hit escape to get out of command. Now I want to change this title down here, so I'm going to come over here where it says title block, and I'm going to edit this field text. And for the title, I'm going to change that to other side fillet weld, and put in your name as the designer. Let's change it scale to 1:1, and we'll say OK to that. So that completes our fillet bead. Now maybe we want this to be shaded. If I double click on this view, I could set it as a shaded view. In the same way on this view, I could set that to be shaded. So we can set it up to look however we want it to appear.